"You get that ink out of a cereal box, old-timer." The voice was young, sharp, and marinated in the kind of arrogance that only comes from being the best and knowing it. Glenn Patterson didn't look up from his coffee. He was 81 years old, and the simple act of stirring 2 cubes of sugar into the dark liquid deserved more of his attention than the pair of mountains standing over his booth. He could feel their presence, the sheer physical density of them. They were big men, carved from granite and confidence, wearing civilian clothes that did a poor job of hiding their occupation. The one who had spoken, a man with a hard jaw and eyes that missed nothing, leaned forward, planting his palms on the table. His knuckles were scarred. "I'm talking to you." The tattoo, he gestured with his chin toward Glenn's left forearm, which rested on the worn vinyl of the diner top. There, on the sun-spotted and wrinkled skin, was a faded tattoo. It was a simple design, a stark black serpent swallowing its own tail, and inside the circle it formed a single unadorned 5-pointed star. The lines were thick, the ink blurred by decades. It looked less like a proud emblem and more like a forgotten doodle. "What about it?" Glenn's voice was raspy, a low rumble that seemed to cost him effort. He finally lifted his gaze. His eyes, pale blue and clouded with age, held a placid stillness that seemed to unnerve the young operator. The second man, quieter and with a thoughtful expression, nudged his partner. "Cutler, leave it alone." Cutler ignored him. "I'm just curious what it's supposed to be. Some kind of biker thing? You in a club?" He smirked. "What's it called? The Geriatric Guzzlers?" The diner, a cozy place called the Scrambled Egg, just a few miles from Fort Liberty, had been humming with the quiet breakfast rush. Now, a pocket of silence was expanding from Glenn's booth. The waitress, Sarah, a woman in her 50s with a perpetually tired but kind face, froze with a coffee pot in her hand. Regulars who knew Glenn, the quiet old man who came in for coffee and toast every Tuesday and Thursday, shot nervous glances at the 2 imposing men. Glenn took a slow sip of his coffee. He placed the mug down with a steady hand. "It's just something from a long time ago." "A long time ago," Cutler mimicked, drawing the words out. "You serve? What? Were you a cook? Quartermaster corps? Maybe pushing pencils in Saigon?" The condescension was thick enough to be a physical force. He was testing him, prodding him, enjoying the perceived power dynamic. He and his partner were the tip of the spear, the most elite fighting force the world had ever known. This old man was just a relic, a piece of living history that had forgotten to crumble into dust. "Something like that," Glenn said, his eyes drifting toward the window as if the conversation was already a distant memory. This infuriated Cutler. He expected deference, or at least a flicker of fear. He was getting nothing but calm indifference. "You know we don't like it when people pretend to be something they're not. It's called stolen valor. People who weren't there, wearing things they didn't earn." He pointed a thick finger at the tattoo again. "That ink on your arm, I've never seen it. Not in any book, not in any unit. And trust me, I know them all." The second operator, Reyes, finally spoke up, his voice low. "He's not claiming anything, man. We're on downtime. Just let him drink his coffee." "No," Cutler snapped, his focus locked on Glenn. "I want to know. I want to hear the war story that goes with your 50-cent tattoo. What's it mean, old man?" Glenn's gaze returned from the window and settled on Cutler's face. It wasn't a challenging look. It was a look of profound, soul-deep weariness, as if he were seeing not just this arrogant young man, but a long line of them stretching back through time. "It means something," Glenn said, his voice barely a whisper, "to the people it's supposed to." Cutler laughed, a harsh barking sound. "That's it? That's all you got?" He leaned in closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial hiss. "I think you're full of it. I think you spent your war peeling potatoes, and you got that thing done in some back alley shop in Fayetteville to impress girls." The disrespect was a palpable thing now. It hung in the air thick and sour. Sarah, the waitress, placed the coffee pot down with a sharp clink. The cook in the back had stopped flipping pancakes. The quiet murmur of the diner had died completely. Everyone was watching. Cutler straightened up, a look of smug satisfaction on his face. He'd won. He'd broken the old man's silence, even if he hadn't gotten the reaction he wanted. He turned to Reyes. See? Nothing. Just another phony. As he spoke, he made his final critical mistake. He reached out and dismissively tapped his finger on Glenn's tattoo. The touch was light, almost casual, but for Glenn, it was like a lightning strike. The scent of stale coffee and bacon grease in the diner vanished, replaced in an instant by the thick, metallic smell of blood and wet earth. The clatter of plates became the distant rhythmic whump, whump, whump of Huey rotors. He wasn't in a vinyl booth anymore. He was crouched in a humid, triple canopy jungle, rain dripping from massive leaves. A young man's hand, slick with mud, was on his shoulder. A whispered voice in his ear, "Stay with me, Pat. Just stay with me." He remembered the flash of a makeshift needle, a shard of bamboo dipped in a mixture of gunpowder and ink. It was done in silence, in a hidden camp deep in a country they weren't supposed to be in. A pact made between the 5 survivors of a mission that had officially never happened. The serpent eating its tail, the circle, the endlessness of their war. The star in the middle, them. The 5 points of a lonely constellation in a blacked-out sky. It wasn't a decoration, it was a scar. It was a promise. He blinked, and the jungle was gone. He was back in the diner. Cutler's finger was still on his arm.
Glenn slowly pulled his arm back, his expression unchanged, but something inside him had shifted. The placid surface remained, but beneath it, an ancient tide had turned. While Cutler was preening, enjoying his performance for the silent diner, Sarah, the waitress, was already moving. She had seen enough. Glenn Patterson was more than a customer. He was a fixture, a quiet, gentle soul who always asked about her grandkids and left tips far too generous for a single cup of coffee. Seeing him humiliated by these 2 titans of arrogance ignited a cold fury in her. She slipped into the small, cluttered office behind the kitchen and shut the door softly. She pulled out her old flip phone and dialed quickly. She didn't call the police. MPs wouldn't solve this. This was a different kind of trouble. Her cousin Stacy worked at JSOC headquarters as an administrative assistant. A long shot, but her only shot. Stacy answered on the second ring with her usual professional tone. "General Thorne's office, this is Senior Airman Miller." "Stacy, it's Sarah. Listen, I don't have much time. There are 2 of your guys, I think special operations, at the diner harassing one of my regulars, an old man." "If they're causing trouble, call the MPs," Stacy said, clearly busy. "You don't understand. They're mocking a tattoo on his arm, a snake eating its tail, star in the middle. His name's Glenn Patterson." There was silence. Long, cold silence. "Describe the tattoo again." Sarah repeated it. "And his name is Glenn Patterson?" "Yes, are you going to do something or not?" "Stay where you are. Don't let them leave." The line went dead. Inside JSOC's headquarters, Stacy felt a cold sweat break out. Glenn Patterson, the symbol. Not in any official database, but in whispered stories told by old sergeants. Project Omega. Ghosts that predated all modern special operations. General Marcus Thorne was in the middle of a top-secret briefing. No one interrupted these meetings. No one. Stacy knocked anyway. A colonel cracked the door, scowling. "What is it, Airman?" "I need to speak with the general. It's urgent." "It can wait." "With all due respect, sir, it cannot." She pushed past him, heart racing. Every commander in the room turned to stare. General Thorne looked up, eyes like flint. This better be the end of the world. She leaned down, voice low. "Sir, I just received a call. A man named Glenn Patterson is being harassed at a diner by 2 of our operators. They're mocking his tattoo, a serpent in a circle, star in the center." General Thorne didn't breathe for a second. Then the change came. Instant, violent. His face drained of color, then hardened into something carved from stone. "Get my detail, get my vehicles, now." He stood so abruptly, his chair screeched back. This meeting is over. Back at the diner, Cutler's temper snapped. If he couldn't break the old man's calm, he'd break something else.
All right, Grandpa, enough of your stolen valor act. He grabbed Glenn's arm in a bruising grip. Let's take a walk outside, you and me. Talk about respect. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Reyes grabbed him. Cutler, what the hell are you doing? But Cutler began pulling the 81-year-old man from the booth. Then came the sound. Not police sirens, engines. 3 black Suburbans roared into the parking lot in perfect tactical formation. Before they fully stopped, men in immaculate dress uniforms poured out, forming a perimeter. Not combat gear, dress uniforms, command security detail. Cutler and Reyes went pale. The rear door of the lead SUV opened. General Marcus Thorne stepped out. He strode into the diner. The bell above the door chimed once, a soft, delicate sound that felt like a gunshot. He walked straight to Glenn's booth. Cutler's hand was still on the old man. General Thorne looked at that hand with such venom that Cutler yanked it back instantly, as if scorched. Then the general did the unthinkable. He snapped into a perfect salute, razor-sharp, formal, absolute, directed at Glenn Patterson. Time stopped. After a long moment, he lowered his hand. His voice, when he spoke, was thick with emotion no one had ever heard from the legendary general. "Glenn, it's been too long." Glenn smiled faintly. "Marcus, you got old." The general's eyes sharpened as he turned toward the operators. "You questioned this man. You questioned his tattoo." He rolled up his sleeve. On his forearm was the exact same symbol, the serpent, the circle, the star, the mark of Project Omega. "Let me tell you who you were speaking to," he said. "This is Glenn Patterson. Before SEAL Team 6, before Delta Force, before any of it, there were 5 men sent into the dark to do the impossible. Project Omega. Ghosts. Their missions were never recorded, their names never spoken. This man and 4 others built the foundation of everything you think you represent." He stepped closer, voice dropping into a lethal whisper. "In 1968, on a mission still blacked out in every archive, our team was hunted for 3 weeks behind enemy lines. Glenn Patterson carried a wounded teammate, me, on his back for 2 days through swamps and patrols to reach extraction. He let the truth choke them. Of the 5 men who wore this mark, only 2 are alive today. You are looking at both." He stared at them with burning contempt. "You forgot quiet professionalism. You forgot respect. You forgot your lineage. Everything you have was paid for in blood by men like him." He stepped back. 500 tomorrow. My office. Bring your credentials." Careers ended. Glenn slowly stood. Not angry, not triumphant, just steady. "The tattoo doesn't make the man," he said softly. "The man makes the tattoo mean something. Uniforms, units, these come and go, but your character, that's the only thing you truly own. Try not to lose it." He turned to the general. "Buy me a coffee, Marcus. It's been a while." As they walked, Glenn's memory flickered. A jungle aid station, a young lieutenant gritting his teeth as Glenn pressed the bamboo needle into his skin. A promise spoken quietly. "It's to remember the ones who aren't here, and to never quit. You're one of us now." The fallout was swift. General Thorne didn't just punish 2 arrogant operators. He created a new block of instruction for all special operations candidates, Legacy. Taught not by active duty instructors, but by combat veterans from Vietnam, Grenada, Panama, men like Glenn Patterson. Cutler and Reyes weren't kicked out. That would have been too easy.
They were reassigned as permanent admin staff for the Legacy program, forced to serve the very men whose past they disrespected, forced to listen to stories of sacrifice every day. A long, quiet penance. A year later, Glenn was in a hardware store searching for bolts when a young soldier in PT gear approached. It was Cutler. Leaner now, his arrogance gone, his voice soft. "Sir, Mr. Patterson, I don't know if you remember me." "I remember. What I did was unforgivable. I was arrogant. I was wrong. I'm sorry." Glenn studied him, then extended his hand. Cutler took it, surprised by the strength in the old man's grip. "We all have things to learn, son," Glenn said. "The important thing is you keep learning." He turned back to the bolts. The conversation was over. Quiet heroes walk among us every day. If you were moved by Glenn Patterson's story of dignity and valor, please like this video, subscribe to Military Stories for more stories, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. We'll see you in the next.